Good day, everyone. I am May Falconet Hernandez, and together with Miss Namari, we will going to discuss the literary movements in literature. So, this presentation discusses several important literacy movements that influence and develop of literature. A literacy movement is a period in which writers share similar ideas, themes, styles, and techniques in their words. These movements often appear because of changes in society, culture, politics, or philosophy. By studying literary movements, we understand how literature reflects human experiences and historical events. So, the first, literary movements is the metaphysical poetry. So, metaphysical poetry developed in England during the 17th century. This movement focuses on deep philosophical ideas, religion, love, and relationship between the physical and the spiritual world. The poems also are intellectual and it requires careful thinking from the readers. Mythical poets often explores complex human emotions and beliefs through imaginative comparison. So here are the metaphysical poetry characteristics. So one of the main characteristics of metaphysical poetry is the use of conceits, which are extended metaphors that connects two different ideas. Another feature is the use of paradox, which is a statement that seems contradictory but actually contains truth. Metaphysical poetry also combines abstract ideas like love, faith, and time with physical objects or images to express deeper meaning. So here are the metaphysical poets. The most famous metaphysical poets is John Donne, who wrote about love, faith, and spiritual conflict. Next is Andrew Marvell. He is known for his philosophical and political poems such as To His Coy Mistress. And then the next poet is Henry Vaughan. Henry Vaughan focuses more on spiritual and religious themes and religious themes. So these famous poets use a creative comparisons and intellectual language to explore complex ideas. So the next literary movement is the symbolism. So symbolism began in France during the late 19th century. It developed as a reaction against realism and naturalism. Instead of describing things directly, symbolism's writers used to use symbols and imagery to express emotions and ideas. The poets in symbolism movements wants to create a deeper emotional and imaginative experience for the reader. So here are the themes and styles of the symbolism movement. So symbolism literature often focuses on spirituality, dreams, imaginations, and the mystery aspects of life. Writers use symbols, metaphors, and sensory images to create meaning instead of explaining ideas directly. This movement also introduced the synesthesia, which is a technique that blends different senses such as describing sounds with colors or emotion. And here are the symbolist writer. So important writers of the symbolist movement includes Charles Baudelaire. Charles Baudelaire poetry explores themes of urban life and the spiritual struggle. Next is Stefan Mallarmé. She was known for his complex and experimental poetry. Next is Arthur Rimbaud. Arthur Rimbaud used powerful and imaginative language to explore human consciousness and emotions. And the next literary movement is the Harlem Renaissance. Harlem Renaissance was a cultural and artistic movement that took place between 1988 and 1937 in Harlem, New York City. This period is when African American writers um, and artists and musicians celebrate their culture and identity. The movement was influenced by the Great Migration, when many African Americans moved from the rural South to northern cities. So, these are the themes during the Harlem Renaissance literary movement. So, writers during this movement focus on racial pride and cultural identity and and experiences of African Americans in society. They challenge racial stereotypes and express the beauty and complexity of black culture. Literature from this movement often addresses social injustice and it promote equality. So and here are the K Harlem Renaissance period. So important writers include Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes wrote a poetry about the everyday life of the African American. He also wrote novels that highlighted black culture and folklore. The next writer is Claude McKay. Claude McKay wrote powerful poems about racial injustice and resistance. And the next is Jean Toomer. Jean Toomer combined poetry and storytelling in his influential work entitled Cane. And now let's discuss the significance of the Harlem Renaissance. So Harlem Renaissance played a major role in shaping African and cultural literature and culture. It encourages pride in black identity and creativity. This movement also helped lay the foundation of the civil rights movement of the 1950s to 1960s by promoting awareness of racial equality and social justice. So let's move on to the next literary movement, which is the Beat Generation. So Beat Generation was a literary movement that began in the United States during the 1940s and 1950s after the World War II. The writers of this movement rejected traditional social values and materialism. They wanted to express personal freedom and individuality. So that's end for my report. I'm just going to give insight about the Beat Generation because the other information about this generation and the other literary movements will be discussed by my partner, which is Miss Namari Alsada. And that's all. Thank you.